last week began a new series called Why the Church Matters, and such an amazing conversation that Pastor Irwin led us in, and just talking about the why, what Jesus had in mind when he created the church, when he said, on this rock I will build my church, and nothing will stop it, nothing will overpower it. And I loved the intro conversation about the importance of what we do together as the movement of Christ. And we're going to pick up that conversation today and over the course of the next few weeks, because I don't know about you, but in all its faults and all its shortcomings, the church has done more for me and to me than I ever could have done. How about you? Like I have been brought back to life because of the church. I have found purpose and meaning because of the church. I have found my why that gave me greater significance than a singular why ever could have. And I'm thankful for this place, our church, Mosaic, where we just believe that we are far better together than we ever were alone. And today, I want to talk to you about another layer of why what we're doing is essential in the world, and it has to do with soccer. Because in our household, we're in the middle of soccer season right now. We have our three boys are all playing soccer, and so our Saturdays have been hijacked by AYSO. But we love it, and it's really exciting because right now our two oldest are in the playoffs, and it's the first time they've ever been in the playoffs, and they're even asked, Dad, what do the playoffs mean? And I'm describing, win or go home, or describing you got to bring your best. If you lose, it's over, and you could see the excitement, but then also the nervousness. And on Friday, our oldest I was in his playoff game, and it started out great, and they were up 2-0, and the team was feeling themselves, and they were crushing the other team. And then there's a kid on our team named Luke. And Luke is a bit of a hothead sometimes, and Luke can get emotional and doesn't know how to, he's not on TikTok enough and watching the videos about, how to decompress yourself and centering himself. And Luke is just a 9-year-old with a lot of emotions that he can't contain sometimes. But also Luke reminds me of some of us at 29. That's a side note. But we're in this game, and Luke is our goalie now, and the team scores an amazing goal, and now it's 2-1. You could feel the nerves kind of shift a little bit, and then they score another goal, and it's 2-2. It's tied up right before the fourth quarter starts. And so in between the quarters, Luke is just beside himself. He rips off his goalie jersey. He throws it on the ground. I'm done with soccer. I never want to play ever again. And we're like, oh my goodness, is Luke going to be okay? What's going to happen? And we want Luke's parents go over, and Luke, it's going to be okay. Luke, you got it. He's like, no, Mom, I'm not going back in. If you wonder what Luke's ethnicity is by this story, I think you can guess. Because if Luke's name was like Laquan, I promise you it would have went different. If I ever put my shoulder up to my mom, I would have been in the backyard, got a whooping, and then I would have scored 3 goals from pure fear. Just a little different. Luke was having this moment. He was emotional, but then the team was trying to rally. Luke, you can do this. You got this. So he goes back in. It's the fourth quarter. It's tense. It's 2-2. And it's like, if you know about soccer, it's all about positioning. It's all about teamwork. It's not just talent. And the striker has to be the striker, and the midfield needs to capture the midfield, and the goalie's got to capture the goalie, and everybody has a part to play. And 2 minutes left, and the whole fourth quarter, Luke was just down on himself and couldn't find it until finally the ball came his way. And Luke had a choice to make. Do I push forward or do I shrink back? And something in Luke was like, oh, this is my most. I'm not a soccer player, so I'm not going to try. He does a little move. Slides to the left, defender goes. Does a little spin move, slides to the right. And Luke's right in position, and a defender comes and trips him. Foul. Free kick right outside of the box. And with seconds to spare, we score a free kick to win 3-2. That's where you're supposed to clap and cheer. Come on. Have you ever watched a sports movie, Mosaic? Like when Denzel plays me in that movie, that's where you cheer. And I love this moment because there was something that happened that was bigger than just the individual. Because when God dreamed up the church, it was never about the one, it was always about the whole. And the church matters because of this declaration. It's all about people. In 1 Corinthians chapter 12, starting in verse 12, it says this: just as a body, though one has many parts, but all its many parts form one body, so it is with Christ. For we were all baptized by one Spirit as to form one body, whether Jews or Gentiles, slave or free, and we were all given one Spirit to drink. Even so, the body is not made up of one part, but many. And now check this out, verse 15. Now if the foot should say, because I am not a hand, I do not belong to the body, it would not for that reason stop being a part of the body. And if the ear should say, because I am not an eye, I do not belong to the body, it would not for that reason stop being a part of the body. But, in fact, God has placed the parts in the body, every one of them, just as he wanted them to be. If they were all one part, where would the body be? But as it is, there are many parts, but one, what? But one. I love the imagery in the scriptures that's used here when it's talking about us when we are at our best. That this thing called humanity, this thing called the church, this living, breathing movement, this organism, that when we understand our unique contribution, when we understand our unique value in the whole, it actually makes us better. Only God could have dreamed up the church, where we take all of the parts, as beautiful and as broken as they may be, as whole and as destructive, but when we come together as a movement, when we come together united, maybe not with common gifting and common talent, but common essence, we do something greater together than we ever could have on our own. Have you ever found that reality? That your best self is never found in isolation, but it's in community? 3 people on this side of the room. Okay, yep. But have you ever just worked with somebody or collaborated with somebody and you thought you were bringing something to the table, or you thought the best you had been delivered, but then they have a thought or an insight, and then you see a new, fresh insight? Or you ever had a dream that you felt like was incepted into your soul, and it kept you up at night, and you realized that that dream was just a skeleton until you got around people who put flesh and blood on that, and they saw things that you could never see. See, God knew that there would be things about us that would flourish, that would rise to the surface, not in isolation, but in the context of community. And I want to take a few moments and talk to you about the church, about you and I, our specific contribution, our unique role, our infinite value to the world. And I want to use the imagery that the scriptures give us about the body. And see, in verse 15, it says, now if the foot should say, because I am not a hand, I do not belong to the body, it would not for that reason stop being a part of the body. So this is the first part of the body that I want to talk to you, and we're going to highlight different people that embody and personify these parts. This first one is the foot. Everybody say the foot. See, this person is the one who moves quickly. You ever had that person in your life that was just like, they were always catalyzing? They were always getting stuff done. They were just always moving. They were active. Like, whenever they're in the room, it's kind of like they're a disruptor. All right? You're like, can you just leave me alone? I just want to chill. Can we Netflix and chill? They're like, why would you? No, it's Netflix and act. Some of y'all don't take that application the wrong way. But the foot is that person who moves quickly. They don't wait. They're moving. They're the person that just knows what to do even before it's asked. There's this activity. There's this movement. But I love that it says, now if the foot should say to the hand, I'm not a hand. What is he trying to help us see? What is he trying to get us to understand? So often in life, we get so comparative. We just keep looking sideways and going like, oh, I wish I had their life. Or I wish I had that success. I wish I had that opportunity. Right? You ever just wanted somebody else's life? Stop lying. Everybody's hand should raise up. You don't want Jeff Bezos' billions? Who are you lying to? There was never a moment in your life you weren't like, dang, I wish I was Kanye. Before. I'm not talking about now. But I mean, my goodness, he's a fashion savant. He's a musical genius. You have a beautiful family and kids. And there's never a moment where you're like, I wish I was Kanye. Never been a moment where a friend was living the life out that you always dreamed or imagined and you had to act like you weren't envious of it. We're not going to get real today. It's okay. Right? We all have had moments in our lives when we get comparative because we see the life that they're living. When you are looking outside for validation, you've missed the validation that God already put inside of you. Said, do you know who you are? Why are you trying to be a hand when I created you to be a foot that has 26 bones, 33 joints, and over 100 tendons and ligaments? That's just science for y'all today. Because it's all about stability. It's all about movement. It's all about, it's time to go. It's time to move. It's time to act. I love the fact that right now, we have a team of almost 24 people in Asheville, North Carolina, with Pastor Kim being the hands and feet of God, rebuilding homes that were destroyed in the hurricane, praying for families that have lost everything, doing the hard work. Pastor Chad, who's on the team, posted a video yesterday, full hazmat suit because of how toxic the environment is. But I love that in the moment of crisis, we don't just talk about acting. The church moves with courage, with faith, with vitality. And when you know your part, you don't look at what anybody else is doing. You find your lane that you know this is my moment and it's time for me to step up. It's time for me to rise. It's time for me to act. Sometimes we need to be the ones that move quickly, that we elevate, that we step up, that we provide solutions. We don't just look at the problem. And then it says, right, the foot should not look at the hand. And so what is the hand? In Exodus chapter 17, verse 10 through 12 says this, so Joshua fought the Amalekites as Moses had ordered. And Moses, Aaron, and Hur went to the top of the hill. As long as Moses held up his hands, the Israelites were winning. But whenever he lowered his hands, the Amalekites were winning. And when Moses' hands grew tired, they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat on it. Aaron and Hur held his hands up, one on one side and one on the other, so that his hands remained steady until sunset. This is such an interesting moment in the life of Moses and the life of his inner circle, this seemingly innocuous battle that there's this visual that's happening. And if you know anything about Moses' story and journey and him setting the people of Israel free from the captivity in Egypt, and And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it means you didn't watch Prince of Egypt as a kid, and how could you not? We all know that Moses has that staff, and he parts the Red Sea, and that same staff that Moses raises for this miraculous moment when Israel will cross on dry land is the same staff that he's holding up. And he says that every moment he has that staff up, Israel is winning. And the moment his hand drops because he's tired, it says the opposition is winning. I just think there's something in this. One, the symbol of Moses declaring that I'm not just coming in my power, but I come with the supernatural power. That when I hold God and his gifting and his power and his kindness and his grace and his mercy and his joy, when I hold it in my hand, I will always find victory. But then, it says his hands grew tired. Which I get it. I know you can't tell by my physique, but I go to the gym on occasion. And I remember being with a trainer and just literally having an exercise with no weights and having to hold my arms. My arms are getting tired right now. But there's a physical nature. See, I think a lot of times we want to tap into the supernatural without actually stepping into the physical. What we are supposed to do. If you have to rely on God for the miracle and you don't show up, don't expect a miracle on the other side. I love that Moses does his part. His hands grew tired. You ever just been tired? You ever just been beaten down by life? You ever just been exhausted? You feel like you can't catch your breath. Imagine Moses had tapped into a level of exhaustion that was deeper than the physical, but it was part of what was happening in his inner world. But here's the key. It says that Moses' hands grew tired, but it also says that Moses did not stop. How many of us, the reason we haven't found that extra strength, the reason we haven't even experienced what we long for, is because we saw tired as an obstacle rather than a catalyst. I love this quote that Aaron McManus posted a few weeks ago that I screenshot, and it's been blessing me. It said, if you're tired, do it tired. You ever seen something you're like, dang, I wish I didn't see that? Because now I have a responsibility. What do I do when I'm tired? What do I do when I'm exhausted? You think God is tired? I think God's sick and tired of him being the only one that cares. I think Jesus was exhausted when he walked and saw the absolute dissonance that we had with each other. I think God is tired of us fighting all the wrong battles, cutting each other rather than linking arms and saying we need to fight that way. But what do we do with that exhaustion? When are we going to stop being so weak? That exhaustion should be the opportunity for a higher self that says, I got more in me than I even realized, and I'm never going to experience it until I push through being tired. If you're tired, do it tired. If you're exhausted, do it anyway. If you're filled with fear, fill yourself with courage. I think it's time for us to realize that we are not in this battle alone. And it's in those moments when we're tired, when we're exhausted, when we're overwhelmed, that's when we get to be reminded that there's people in our lives that will grab a hold of one arm. And there's people in our lives that will grab a hold of the other arm and say, when you don't have the strength to lift your arms, take a seat. We got it from here. See, Moses was more powerful and Moses was stronger because he knew he was not fighting alone. See, I wonder if in that moment in your life when you feel exhausted and you feel beat down, you feel you don't have what it takes, it's not that you don't have what it takes, it's that you haven't invited in what will give you what it takes. See, that's why the church matters. Because there's going to be moments when you and I can't muster the strength on our own. We'll say, we got it from here. And I love that Aaron and Hur did not wait for Moses to say, I'm tired, can you help? They took initiative. They responded. A couple nights ago, we were hungry and we didn't want to cook. And so I do what any normal, rational Angelino does. It's a Postmate night. And so I got our favorite Thai food. It's from a place called Spice Season, which name is on point. And spicy food, I love spicy food. And I know Beck loves it, and the few dishes that she really loves. So I said, I'm just going to Postmate, I'm going to buy dinner. We're going to have it delivered because it was a lot with the kids, and we're just going to enjoy a good meal together. And then we're hanging. It's been like an hour plus. Food hasn't come. Wasn't anything. I get a phone call. Number I don't recognize. I answer it. And she says, hey, just checking in, making sure you're still good with the food. I'm like, yeah, totally. Yeah, we can't wait to eat it. Yeah, how much longer before it gets here? And she's like, no, how much longer before you get here? Because the restaurant is closed and you didn't pick up the food. I'm like, what do you mean? I did delivery. And she's like, no, you did pickup. So, husbands, you ever been so mad at yourself, not because you made the mistake, but because you know you're going to disappoint your wife? Like, dang, she's going to be so mad at me now. So disappointed. But I was like defeated. I was like, oh, well, guess it's chicken nuggets tonight, babe. And I had completely we're just not getting it tonight. Because almost 30-minute drive, not doing that. And she goes, where do you live? And I said, we live in Burbank. And she said, what's your address? I'm like, hold up, why are you asking? If I can trust you. Yeah. I'm like, what are the odds? Like, somebody's gonna kidnap me using a Thai food chain. I'm like, what's wrong with you? So I said, yep, here's my address. And she said, cool, no worries, I'm on my way. And I'm pretty certain this was the owner of the restaurant. And I was like, wait, what do you mean you're on your way? She's like, yep, no worries, I'll come, I'll drive it over myself. And she came to the house, dropped it off. I love Spice Season. It's probably our favorite Thai restaurant in LA. I'm telling you, the food tasted different that night. Because what happens to the human spirit when you see somebody go above and beyond, when you see somebody not just talk about it, but act on it, when you see somebody provide the very thing that you didn't even know how to ask for, it changes you. And when Jesus created the church, he knew that there would be moments in human history when the world would not know what to even ask for, would not even know what it needed. And God said, don't worry, I got you. Her name is the church, and she's coming when you need her the most. And I'm telling you, there's been moment after moment after moment in my life when I didn't have the words to communicate what my soul needed, and the church showed up. Because that is why the church matters. Because for us, it's all about people. And then the scriptures talk about the ear. And in the book of John, there's a fascinating and powerful moment where just after Lazarus, who was friends with Jesus, he had died. And his family was distraught. And they're mourning. And they were really angry and frustrated with God because they believed that God could actually heal their brother. And they believed that Jesus could do it. But Jesus didn't come. So they're having a conversation days after their brother had died. And Jesus is there. And if you know the story, it's obviously one of the most insane moments in all the scriptures where Jesus calls out Lazarus from the grave. And he comes walking out like mummy style, wrapped in cloths. And Jesus brings Lazarus back to death, one of the most insane miracles in all the scriptures. But as powerful as that moment is, that's not the moment that actually moved me the most. That's not the moment that I feel like I got access into the beauty and wonder of who Jesus is. It was this moment that's captured in John 11:35. As Jesus is simply sitting with his friends who had just lost their brother. And it's the shortest verse in all the scriptures, but probably for me the most profound example of the humanity of God. It says, Jesus wept. It doesn't say Jesus cried. It doesn't say Jesus was sad. It doesn't say Jesus grieved. It says Jesus wept. What would bring God himself to uncontrollable tears? And what would bring God to such a deep, profound moment with his friends that seems like a waste? He should have said, stop crying. He should have been like Black Grandmama, shut up. Shut up. Why are you crying? Watch this. He could have even teleported Lazarus from the grave right in front of them. He should have said, this is what I do. I'm the God of miracles. I'm the God who's always moving. I heard your cry. Now watch. I'm going to respond. The tears should have been wasted, should have been irrelevant, except for this truth. Jesus does not just want you to see the power in his acts. He wants you to see the power in his essence. And that he weeps with his friends because sometimes you need to be the ear. That's the one that you can sit with. It's the one you can cry with. It's the one that sometimes you have no words, but your soul is screaming at each other. We've got so many kids, I do not remember which birth this was. But one of the times Beck was in labor, it was a bit of an up and down journey. And it was a bit of a struggle. And as a husband, my job is to comfort, is to be there, is to provide vibes, right? And my vibes were failing that day. I would stroke her hair, and she's like, why are you touching my hair? My bad, I'd get her a little smoothie, and I don't like bananas. It's just everything I try, I put on music. You love this song? Just not feeling it. Just the vibes were off. I was off. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what she needed. We were missing each other. And then all of a sudden, the doors of that delivery room open up. And in comes Mia Soti Garcia. And if you know Soti, she is like human kindness and warmth and joy wrapped up in human skin. She's probably the greatest friend that you didn't even know you didn't have. And when Soti walked into that room, no words were spoken. She didn't say, what's up, girl? How you doing? Beck didn't say, thank you so much for coming. I needed you. Soti just went by that bedside. She gave her a hug. She started stroking her hair. I could watch Beck call. I'm like, I did that. She started stroking her arm and massaging her shoulders and her feet. I'm like, that's my game plan. She's copying me. She's like, this song's not working. She wants worship music. Play this song. And I just watched Soti just sit with her friend. I just saw Soti just connect at a heart level. Saw Soti just be by her bedside, let Beck talk it out, and just meet her where she was at. And it was one of the more beautiful moments of my life that I got to watch what true love and friendship and community looks like. And I love the fact that I was completely unnecessary. See, I think a lot of times we're not comfortable not being needed. See, a lot of times we always want to be the savior. We always want to be the one who gets the credit. We always want to be the one that the story is told about. But the beauty of the church, the beauty of the body, the beauty of the movement that Jesus dreamed of is that we all play a significant part in the season that matters the most. And we celebrate when freedom happens. We celebrate when joy is found. We celebrate when hope is discovered, because it's not about the one, it's about the whole. And Jesus knew that even he did not need to be the singular person that would get all the credit in the world, because if Jesus wanted all of the shine, he would have never created the church. He would have said, I'm all that you need. But he didn't. He said, Peter, you're going to be the first stone that I'm going to build a new humanity on. He said, on this rock, I will build my church. And it will be the movement of Jesus, not just the person of Jesus, that will set the world on fire. If Jesus didn't need all the shine, why in the world do you think you do? Because Jesus lived out the reality that the movement of God is a movement not of individuals, but it's a movement of dreamers and curators and activators and healers. It's a movement of the best of us. And then this last part of the body that I love, because the ear is the one you can sit with, is the eye. And this is the one who keeps you hopeful. In Romans 15:13, it says, may the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. See, I love this last piece where God knew in the body we needed someone. We needed individuals. We needed a group of people that would see a better version of us than even we see in ourselves. That there would be a necessity that we need moments and movements to call us forward, to not simply rest in the present, but actually be launched into a better future. That I love that it's the I. It's the ones that don't let you stay in the moment when you could be drowning in the despair. You could be drowning in the worry. You could be drowning in the hopelessness. And it's that person that says, I'm not going to let you settle. I'm not going to let you be paralyzed. Even if you can't find hope on your own, I will inject it myself, because I see a more beautiful future. I see a more powerful you. Sometimes you need to be the eye that's not focused on simply what's happening in the moment, but you're able to see through the chaos and not just seek hope, but bring it. This week was a bit of a tumultuous week in our country. I don't know if you've noticed. A lot of heaviness, a lot of despair, a lot of anger, a lot of frustration. And I normally don't get political. I normally don't speak on things. That's just not me. That's not us. But there are moments when we feel like we need to be who Jesus called us to be, and it's a voice of hope. So I just felt compelled to share something the day after the election. And it says something along the lines of, if you're candidate 1 today, hey, don't boast, don't gloat, don't rub it on people's face. And if your candidate didn't win yesterday, don't be bitter, don't destroy, don't tear people down, don't name call, right? Because these are the moments where we have to decide, are we actually on the same team? Are we actually united in what we long for and believe, regardless of what our political preference is? And I just try to bring some hope and some perspective and going, hey, I just want us to be reminded that there is always hope waiting for us in the future. That regardless of what is happening in this moment, that it's essential that we do not root ourselves in things that come and go. And that's why the invitation into a life with Jesus is an anchor in the highs and the lows. It's a reality that this moment didn't kill me or crush me because I'm rooted in a truth that Jesus is above it all. And for the most part, I got a lot of, hey, love it, thank you, needed it. But you ever notice how 90% when people say awesome things, but the 10% when people crush you, we focus on the 10%? What is that about us? And I went back and forth with some people. I probably shouldn't have, but I felt a certain way. And we just started going back and forth. And I had people saying, you're being extremely callous. You need to let me be angry. You need to let me say whatever I need to say. And I wish I could have just let it go. But here's the problem. My job, my responsibility, my calling is not supposed to be to simply affirm you. My responsibility is to bring you to hope. My responsibility is to remind you you're better than this. My responsibility, our responsibility, is not to call less than okay, but it's to give perspective, it's to bring truth, it's to bring clarity. And I said, I'm okay if you do not like me, but I want to be the voice in your ear, in your soul, that told you I'm not going to let you act like this is okay with your life. You ever said something and then you're like, ooh, somebody said it better? My girl Tabitha Brown, who is one of my favorite follows on social media, and she's just an incubator of joy and life. And I love what she said. She posted a video, and she was just really raw and open and honest about where she's at. But I love that her brand, her essence, her contribution to the world is a source of joy. And I love that she said these words: let me remind you that today you woke up. And that means that today you still have purpose. When you're ready, choose joy. You might need to take some time, you might need to work that out, but when you're ready, choose joy. And then I love this. Try your best to have a good day. But if you can't, don't you dare go messing up somebody else's. Oh, I love that. Because what Tabitha has tapped into is that our lives do not simply belong to ourselves. And we get swallowed up with ourselves far too often. Which is why sometimes you need someone or something or a movement like the church that pulls you out of the fog, that pulls you out of the chaos, pulls you out of the mess and the uncertainty and shakes you up and says, nah, here in this place, we're going to choose joy. Here in this moment, we're going to rise up. Because the reason the church matters, the reason the church is essential, is because God did not put us in position to thrive in comfort. He put us in position to thrive in crisis. And I don't know if you could feel it, but there's a lot of people in this world, in this moment, that feel in crisis. And that's when we get to go, it's okay. This is why we're positioned here. This is why this moment matters. This is why of all the places on the planet, in all the times in human history, in all the ways that God could have dreamed it up, he said, you are needed now. He said, you have value now. The question is not, do we matter? The question is, will we waste the moment when it mattered the most? Maybe, just maybe, for some of you here today, the very, very important conversation that you need to have, the first one, is before you can find your value and your contribution and how you matter to the world, is that you realize your infinite value to God. And that you swim in the beauty of this moment where God came to remind you how loved you are. He came to remind you that he doesn't see you at your worst. He doesn't see you in your sin. He doesn't see you in your brokenness. He doesn't see you in your trauma. He's trying to look you eye to eye, face to face, soul to soul, to tell you that there's nothing on the planet that matters more to him than you. Maybe before the church matters to you, you finally get to live in the reality that you matter to God. If we could all bow our heads and close our eyes. We're going to take a moment right now and allow anyone in this room, anyone watching on live stream, anyone listening within the sound of my voice, if you're here and you're struggling with insignificance, you're struggling with loneliness, you're struggling with anxiety, depression, you're struggling trying to find meaning and purpose because you've tried everything but God. Maybe you're here and you've tried God or you've tried church and you feel like you still were left wanting. Maybe the shift was that you needed to realize there's nothing that you need to do. Jesus already did it for you. And that the action step that you need to take right now is to simply receive. To receive his grace. To receive his mercy. To receive his forgiveness. To receive his hope. To receive his joy. Maybe you're here and it's finally time for you to actually try Jesus. If that's you and you're ready to trust him with every ounce of yourself, then right now, I just want you to tell him, whisper this prayer, say, Jesus, I give you my life. Just tell him right now, say, Jesus, I give you my life. Commit to him from this moment forward. I'm all yours, no turning back. I'm placing my life in your hands. I'm placing everything in your hands. Jesus, I give you my life. Okay, if you prayed that prayer, you made that commitment, you stepped over the line of faith today, and you found the value that comes in Jesus, I want you to raise your hand right now, wherever you are on live stream, in your car, and in this room. Raise your hand. That was me. Raise it high. Don't be ashamed. Don't be afraid. Beautiful. Raise it as high as you can to say, Jesus, I'm reaching out to you because I need you. Jesus, I'm walking out of this room different. Jesus, I'm not playing with you anymore, that I'm ready to to finally find the purpose and meaning that my soul longs for. Beautiful. Anyone else? One more moment. Jesus, I give you my life. If you've been holding back, don't let fear still this moment. Raise your hand. Say, yep, beautiful. I see you. Another one. Come on. Another one. Who else? Why would you ever leave this room the same when God's calling you to be different? I see you, bro. Come on. Father, I pray for every tear in this room. I pray for every voice that's trying to steal this moment. I pray, Jesus, that you would remind every person in this room how much they matter to you. I pray that every hand held high would be a raised new life, a life filled with hope, a life filled with love, a life filled with purpose. And we thank you, Jesus, that you are always just one choice away. We love you so much. We give you this day. We give you our lives. We are forever changed because of you. We thank you. We ask all this in your name. Amen.
If you can stay with me for a couple more minutes. I saw so many people raising their hand and making a decision to invite Jesus into your life today. You are the reason why we're here. You're the reason why we do what we do, because Jesus has changed our life, and we cannot wait for more people to experience that same level of life and hope that we have found in Him. I just want to invite you, if you made that decision today, a couple things. Text someone. Let someone that you value, someone that you love, let them know that you made that decision. Don't keep it as something internal. Share it with someone. And then also at the end, when you go outside, there's a team waiting for you. We want to give you a Bible. We want to help you go deeper and go stronger in your relationship with Jesus. And that's also why we do a Bible study here every Wednesday, because we want to help you in your steps, building your relationship with Jesus. I want to invite the team to come forward, because something else that happens every time that we're together. If you already follow Jesus, we get to follow Him, follow His steps every Sunday with this decision that we make to be generous, to give back to the church, to the mission of what God is doing in the world through the church. This is why we give as a community. I love Pastor Joe talked about our team being in Asheville right now. We as a church, we get to go places because there are people here right now, and you might be sitting here in this moment, that you've been generous. You've been a good steward of the finances that God has given you. And because of you, we get to go places and bring the love of Jesus to so many people. I want to say thank you to everyone who give here at Mosaic, and we want to invite you to make that a constant step that you take, an act of obedience, where every week when we get together, or twice a month or once a month, we choose to be generous, to give, to help build this space so that more people can find hope in Jesus. You might be sitting in an envelope, and I would love if you can grab it really quick. Everyone from the front to the back, grab the envelope really quick. It says Foundation Sunday. This is so that you can give cash or checks, and I want to invite the team to pass the buckets. There's also other ways that you can give. You can give online. You can also take a photo of that QR code, and you can give there as well. As we pass the bucket, I just want to give you a second to respond and to be in this moment. This is a beautiful moment that we get to step in as a community to be generous together.